world ends all the time in little ways, and actually it's not important the world being reduced to ash. What's important is missing that bus, which means you can't get to the school to pick your kid up, or that phone call you regret not making with someone who's died. Those kind of things, that's what it's all about. I mean, I've been playing games for like 35 years, so I think I was like 6 or 7 when I first saw an Atari 2600. I was working at university and doing a PhD on virtual reality and storytelling, and was playing Time Splitters one night and went, wait a minute, these are mass market virtual realities and this is a lot more exciting than kind of dry academic virtual reality, and they use stories, and I've been obsessed with these things my whole life. I think from my perspective, I was really interested in saying, what if it's an open world? What if you don't have an order to the story? What if the fact that if you discover that scene by the bike sheds, that profoundly affects the way you understand this character? Although the path through the game, ostensibly you're still telling the same story, it's actually a game about realising that you never actually really know people, you just read the fragments you get from them, and that's really interesting. Jess was coming at it from a point of view of going, the kind of shallowness of a lot of game stuff, because they're amping up the epicness all the time, it's always epic, it's always big, it's always this, you lose the humanity in it because there's no little things. And we were talking a lot about being parents, and a lot about getting older and sort of losing people and those kind of things. About, I think we were talking about the idea of the apocalypse, and she was sort of saying, well look, the world ends all the time in little ways, and actually it's not important the world being reduced to ash. What's important is missing that bus, which means you can't get to the school to pick your kid up, or that phone call you regret not making with someone who's died. Those kind of things, that's what it's all about. The moment we got that, we went, only a game can tell a story in this way. That's got to be really, really interesting. We both grew up in villages, both Jess and I, and there is a real, very specific type of community. And I think we talked a lot about the storm here in '87, where our village was cut off because a tree fell across the 2 roads in and out of the village. There was nothing, and the phone lines went down, and that was it. And for a couple of days, the village was the world. And that was really, I think, the big thing about Rapture, of going, the world kind of ends off-scene in Rapture, but actually it doesn't matter, because all that matters is Yaughton is the world for these people. There are people that I know that in aspects of them in Rapture, definitely. I think you always do that as a writer anyway, because you're trying to create people that are real and around it. You've got to draw from sort of like the people around you and people you kind of know from that. At one point, sort of early on, we had an internal kind of tagline, which was, you know, Rapture's a game about why the world will end and why it doesn't matter. We have to be unflinching about how we deal with grief and loss. It has to be raw. But we wanted to make a game which was ultimately positive, which went, actually, it's okay, because life being something which is precious and fleeting and fragile gives it its value.